the rating structure is 80, 50, 30, 10, and 0%. What's going on? Basically, the information that is in here is exactly the same information that is listed under gastroesophageal reflux disease, right? What in the world is esophageal stricture? All right, what is going on, everybody? I'm David Davis, owner and founder of All Veterans Disability Claims, and I am excited to be here with you again. This is another training video for GERD. So many of you know that there's some changes that are taking place when it comes to the rating structure and how they look at certain things like GERD or mental health or tinnitus or even sleep apnea, different things like that. So I want to jump into this. I know I've seen some videos that are out there and people have put some information out there already, which is a great thing. But there's some pretty huge changes that have taken place when it comes to GERD, and they've already taken place. I want to say it started in May of this year, and I was caught off guard. I prepare people for their compensation and pension exams, but I found myself reading this 38 CFR for GERD or gastroesophageal disease, and I'm like, I don't recognize this wording. I can't even explain to you what this condition is. I want to make sure that you're not put in that position and that you understand what it is that you're talking about when you go to these appointments or when you're even filing these different claims. So let's get into it. So first, I want to talk to you about probably one of my last videos that I did. It was 0, 10, 30, and 60% for the condition. You want to talk about your pain, your vomiting, regurgitation, the pyrosis or heartburn or whatever, the dysphagia if you have it, and all those different things. Based off of what you had and how it affected you is how you fell in this setup. And it was rated under the diagnostic code 7346. And that's what you could look up in the 38 CFR, and that's how you went. Things have changed, right? It's no longer 7346. It is now 7206. And even though all of those other conditions and symptoms you had before where it came to the heartburn and certain things like that, those have changed. And then even the rating structure has changed for this claim. Instead of the 0, 10, 30, 60% being the highest, this is now 0, 10, 30, 50, and 80 being the highest. So far, so good to an extent. When you start looking at the wording in here, wording is completely different. There's nothing, this is still gastroesophageal reflux disease, but instead of it talking about heartburn or regurgitation or any kind of issues like that, it's talking about esophageal stricture, right? Everything that has to do with this claim right here all says esophageal stricture, right? You scroll up a little bit because I think there's another claim in here called, esophagus stricture, which falls under esophageal stricture, right? The rating structure is 80, 50, 30, 10, and 0%. What's going on? Basically, the information that is in here is exactly the same information that is listed under gastroesophageal reflux disease, right? What in the world is esophageal stricture? So from what I can understand is that esophageal stricture is when you have a restriction inside of your esophagus, right? It's where you might have a large portion up high and then it comes down to a very narrow section. In order to fix that, you might have to have dilation, which means that they put a balloon down in your esophagus and blow it up and stretch that area back out. And if you have to have that done no more than 2 times a year, it would be 30%, right? If you have to have that more than 2 times a year, likely 50%. If you're doing that with steroids 1 time a year, 50%, right? If you have to have a stent put in or replace, or a stent replaced, 50%. But the key point is that none of the setup for gastroesophageal reflux is in here as far as it being a service-connected symptomatic type situation, right? I have GERD. I have a rating for GERD. I believe I'm at either 10 or 30% for GERD. If I look at this right here, I would not fit the setup for GERD. I didn't have the issues with the swallowing or anything like that. I did have the heartburn. I did have the regurgitation. I did have all of that stuff. I have issues sleeping. When I lie down, I can't eat food at a certain time. All those different things. But I did not have any kind of dilation. I've never even been offered the treatment of dilation for anything for GERD. I wouldn't even know where that would fit in the situation. So that's where my concern is with this. And if you understand it better or you understand it differently, please let me know. Understand, I'm not a medical professional. I am a veteran. And I help veterans get their VA disability claims based off of the information, based off of knowledge and understanding, and allowing that to be your superpower in this process. So I looked up esophageal strictures and dilation and stuff like that. What I came up with was a video on that dealt with children that are born with their esophagus not being attached on both ends. So they would have to have surgery, and a doctor would come in and attach their esophagus together, which would likely leave scarring. So as that child got older and larger, that scarred area, the area where the esophagus was sewed together, would likely not expand at the same rate as the rest of the esophagus. So every once in a while, they would have to go in, blow up a balloon, and stretch it back out. That's what I found so far when it came to dilation or having to have a stent put in because your esophagus is collapsed or whatever. So that's what I found on that. What concerns me is more so is how would the military cause this, right? How is, no matter what, when you file a claim, you're filing a claim based off of it was caused by or aggravated by the military, or you have another condition that's caused that, or another service-connected condition that might have caused that, right? Just keep that in mind, right? When it comes to these different things, I don't necessarily know how this fits in. Not a medical professional. If you do have better understanding of how this fits in, or have dealt with this yourself, please educate us. I'm all about education, as I keep on saying, but I'm concerned for this. For veterans that have already got a rating for gastroesophageal disease, you're going to keep your rating unless you file for an increase or unless you do something to mess with this claim when it comes to your GERD, right? Because now they have to rate you, I believe, on the new structure, as opposed to the way you were rated initially, right? But if you're not messing with it and you already have your rating, you leave it alone and you should be good, as far as I understand, right? I am a firm believer that if you are a veteran and you're filing a claim and you're thinking that it is the VA's fault that you don't have the rating that you're supposed to have and that they didn't do what they're supposed to do and this examiner didn't care about me and all these different things, if your mindset is there, and that's what you're thinking, you can't do anything about that. I can't change the examiner. I can't change the rater. But if I look at this and say that the reason I don't have the rating I deserve is because I didn't have the information. I didn't have the proper information I needed when I filed my claim. I didn't study enough. I didn't look at this information. I didn't explain my situation enough or whatever. You could change that all day. So none of us sign up to the military to be victims. So we're all victors. So let's go ahead and go at this, even though we're out the military, as victors. So take this information. Let's run with it. This is probably not going to be my last video on this. This is just something I've just came across me because it's something that's been affecting certain claims that I've been helping people with in that sense. So keep on pressing, get information, and we'll keep on talking. All right. So I'll talk to you soon.